Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Getting Personal with Parkinson's, a Facebook Live conversation series. I'm Whitney Chapman, the Programming and Production Manager for the Edmund J. Safra Parkinson's Wellness Program here at the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan, which is supported by New York's largest healthcare provider, Northwell Health. For over 14 years, the JCC has been hosting programs for individuals living with Parkinson's. You can find these programs on our website at www.mmjccm.org/Parkinsons. And you can see the links below in our comments section. As you watch today's episode, I want to invite you to hit the share button, which is located on the bottom of your screen, so that you can share this with others who might benefit from hearing today's programs and help us get the word out about all the offerings we can provide. For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. This program is for anyone whose life has been impacted with PD, those diagnosed, as well as family and friends. We want this conversation series to help put a face to Parkinson's and to introduce you to people who are living and thriving with PD, as well as experts who will share updates and research and tips for helping you live your best life. And we welcome your input. If you want to be a guest, or if you know someone we should feature, or if there's a special topic that is of interest to you, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Let me know. You can all direct your inquiries to me, Whitney Chapman, at wchapman@mmjccm.org. And I'll put that information in the comment section below. So now, let's get on with the show, right? I want to introduce you to Larry Gifford. Larry is a man of many talents who has spent his career in broadcasting. He started noticing symptoms, but attributed them just to aging. But after finally visiting a neurologist, he was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's. Curious and knowing nothing about Parkinson's and having the right neurologist to motivate him, Larry began exploring improvisation as a tool for managing his symptoms. And then, after reading the book Ending Parkinson's Now, he was encouraged by one of the co-authors of the book, Boss Blom, to take the intent of the book out into the world and to take action. So Larry, along with a few others, took the challenge and co-founded PD Avengers. Larry and I had a chat that we pre-recorded, and I want to share it with you now. Let me tell you, you are in for a treat. It is going to be a lot of fun. If you have questions while you're listening, please put them in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them when it's over. See you at the end. Larry, it is so wonderful to meet you.
It is great to be seen and to meet you.
So, Larry, you are coming from Canada today, right?
Yes, British Columbia. I'm in Vancouver, so just north of Seattle.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Tell me a little bit about you. Tell me about your relationship with Parkinson's. How did you discover you had Parkinson's?
It was a journey. I started getting the symptoms probably around the year 2000 when I was living in Los Angeles, and my wife and I would go hiking, and I was shuffling my feet a lot, and the clomp and shuffle and clomp and shuffle. And she's like, "Can you pick up your feet while we're hiking?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And it'd be like shuffle clomp. I'm like, "This is harder than I thought. Did I forget how to walk?" And then, but I was approaching 40 years old. So I'd never been 40 before. Maybe this is what getting old's like. And I was out of shape. So you make all these excuses for all these symptoms that tend to show up. We moved to Canada about 6 years ago, and by then I'd collected quite a few symptoms, but they were so disparate that I didn't think anything of it. My handwriting was getting smaller, and I was more fatigued. I really started to get a tremor, and that's when my son, who was about 5 at the time, said, "Hey, Dad, why is your hand shaking so much?" I'm like, "I don't know." He goes, "Shouldn't you go to the doctor?" Like, yeah, probably should. And so I went to my physician, and she's like, "Yeah, something's going on. Let's refer you to a neurologist." So they sent me to the MS clinic at the University of British Columbia, and they took me through a bunch of tests, and the doctor's like, "Good news, you don't have MS, but I'm afraid you probably have Parkinson's." So at that time, he couldn't diagnose me, but he was able to give me a prescription of levodopa. He goes, so I'm going to give you levodopa, and it may work, it may not work. And if it doesn't work, then it's probably not Parkinson's. If it does work, we've probably got a good idea what it is. And then we'll put in an appointment for you to see the Parkinson's neurologist. That took a couple of months, and it was working like a charm. The neurologist like, yeah, you've got a Parkinsonism, and he goes, I'm pretty sure of it. And I said, well, can we make that definite? And he goes, well, there's one thing we could do to really determine if it is Parkinson's. We can do an autopsy. And I said, well, I'll hold off on that for a while.
Well, you seem to have a great sense of personality and sense of joie de vivre. So it's nice that you've got a doctor who's got the same.
Yeah, he keeps me on my toes. He's actually married to the director of improvisation at a theater, and so we started improv for Parkinson's, and so we're actually studying that for research, and we're doing the study at Mount Sinai in New York.
Wow, we just heard about that and are actually going to be sharing that with our constituents.
Great.
So anything more we need to know?
You don't need any experience, and you don't have to be funny. And it's so fun, and it's probably the most fun of a support group I've ever been a part of, because you end up becoming the troop. Like these are people you rely on, and you learn. Improvisation teaches you how to be in the moment and react in the moment, which we need so bad, because from moment to moment, our situation changes. And I learned how to listen presently, how to, use more expression with my face and my hands, and, communicate so people can receive my communications. So you're really there. And so I find it's the most fun I have in a week. It's like an hour of scheduled laughter. Like, come on.
I studied improv many years ago in one of my former lives as an actor. And it was amazing to me, the positivity it brings out and how the silly things that you're doing in these games impact your real life, and how your impact and your whatever's going on in your real life can be impacted by the improv. And learning to say yes.
Yes, and add to the conversation. Yeah. The other thing that I love is that one of the rules of improv is you are there to make your partner look good, and your partner's there to make you look good. So it's not a competition. You're okay to fail, because failure is celebrated in improv. So people with Parkinson's just celebrate all the time. Because we're constantly doing something that's weird or crazy, and you can incorporate the Parkinson's into the improv or not. Like it depends on whatever offer you want to make.
What are the biggest changes that you have found in yourself from having the experience of doing improvisation?
I've been doing this for about 3.5 years now, and it's really given me a lot more confidence with the Parkinson's. You are who you are. And there's some benefits to it, and there's some negatives to it, but everybody's got something. This is what I've got.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful.
It's so fun. Everybody do it.
I will have to agree with you on that. It is, I studied it for several years on my own. And then just recently after the pandemic, I went to go see the group that I studied with. And it's a life changer. It's a really fun way to, have a more positive outlook. I mean, the yes and, which is one of the keys to improv that you mentioned, is also a big part of positive psychology. Yes, this is happening to you. And one of the reasons that we started this conversation series was to say, yes, you are having Parkinson's and you have a life, right? Yes. And your life seems very full.
I keep saying, and yes. Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes.
Now, I got word of you through one of our constituents, Pat Beelman, and she put me in touch with you because you are largely involved in an organization called PD Avengers.
Yes.
And I would love
to learn more about it myself, as well as to have you share with us. What is PD Avengers?
So PD Avengers is an organization, nonprofit, that started right around the pandemic. So we all had more time to Zoom and whatnot. And this great book, if you haven't read it yet, you should, came out at the same time, called Ending Parkinson's Disease. It's a prescription for action. And so we were Zooming with, about 12 of us around the world about the book, all people with Parkinson's, trying to figure out what do we agree with, what didn't resonate with us. And then we interviewed the authors. We invited them onto our calls, and Boz came on there and he goes, "Hey, I love that you guys are responding to the book so well, but it's a prescription for action. Are you going to take action?" And so at that point, we're like, "Oh, yeah, I suppose you've pinned us." So we are building a united global alliance of people with Parkinson's, their partners, their care teams, and friends, family. Anybody can be a PD Avenger. Anybody, whether you know somebody with Parkinson's or not, because we need everybody to bring their superpowers to what, your strengths, whatever you do well. We need to leverage those globally, so we can, have equity in medicine, in care, in diagnoses, whether it's gender equity or it's equity between Africa and North America. It's so disparate. Who gets medicine? Who doesn't get their medicine? Who gets a diagnosis? Who has a neurologist? And then all these organizations around the world are all giving us different messages at different times. And so our thought was, let's have an organization that it has a global vision with local activation. So we keep things top level, but we make them so people can activate them locally. If, for instance, we are putting out for April 11th, which will be the World Parkinson's Day, celebrating Dr. Parkinson's birthday. And we are going to be introducing to the Parkinson's population our own icon, and we call it a spark. And we're going to spark, we have sparks in our brains, and then we're sparking this global campaign. And I think people are going to really embrace it. And the idea here is everybody knows what a lightning bolt is. Like, I don't need to explain that to anybody. You see them all the time. It's ubiquitous around the world. And so when you see that, you'll think of Parkinson's. All the organizations can use it as a secondary logo to say, yeah, we're aligned.
I love it.
So we have 80 organizations worldwide that have agreed to collaborate with each other and with us. We have nearly 5,000 members, and we represent 83 different countries.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's, we're worried about wellness, advocacy, and research. We want people with Parkinson's to live well so they can advocate for themselves and for others, and then also participate in research and as much as they can. We want to not just be, willing participants, but we want to be helping to design these studies. So they're focused on the things that affect us.
I think that's brilliant. I mean, yeah. I know that, kind of a side note, but I've been in jobs where I've managed a lot of people, and I have always found it rather surprising that when the top of the organization wants to make a change or suggest something, that they don't often ask the people on the front lines. And I have always found that if you ask the people who are living it, doing it, managing it, they often have the best ideas about what's needed. And I was, if I think about it from a business standpoint of I'm trying to run a business and I want my staff to be happy and I want the guests and customers to come in, the same thing applies to our healthcare. Like, we know what we want if we give ourselves the permission to really advocate for it and to feel that we have the right to speak up for it. I think that's brilliant.
And just because I want to make this clear, we're called the PD Avengers. It's not because we're seeking vengeance.
Got it.
It's about the collective of our superheroes and our superpowers, kind of like the Avengers. But these are for Parkinson's. So everybody can contribute something, you know. Maybe you're a social media person, or maybe you're really good at knitting. You know, we're going to need everything because whatever you bring to the table, we'll find a way to use it. It's been very rewarding, and just to see how the organizations have all come together. Now they're you know, the first meeting we had with them, some people didn't even know each other within the Parkinson's leadership,
Sure.
like all these committee groups. And so now they've become more friendly, and because we meet every month, and they are collaborating outside of the PD Avengers. Like they don't even, so just that alone has been a big win. And, you know, I hear from people every day, somebody from somewhere else in the world is reaching out, have a question, want me to introduce them to somebody, whether it's Uganda or it's Jordan or it's Australia or it's Taiwan, or it's so cool. I think all these people have Parkinson's. They're or are related to Parkinson's, and it's 5,000, which is fine, but there's 10 million people with Parkinson's in the world right now. It's the fastest growing neurological condition in the world. The only way that this is going to slow down is if we begin to tell our stories and we begin to raise awareness and raise enough money to do enough research to make a difference. And it's starting, but we have a ways to go.
So for someone who, like you, is a young onset diagnosis, what would you tell them?
So the first thing you need to do as a person who's diagnosed with Parkinson's is you really need to work on your own self, as far as, just sort of mentally finding a way just to embrace the fact that Parkinson's is going to be with you forever. There's no cure. We don't cure a lot of diseases. What we do is we find ways for them not to onset. And if you've been diagnosed, you've probably already onset. So there's no reversal of that. It would be really tough. Like we're probably not our lifetime. What we're doing today hopefully will help the next generation.
Yeah.
And it took me a good year to really understand that I didn't have to be enemies with my Parkinson's, that if I embraced it, we were better together, working the same direction. I didn't know anything about Parkinson's. Nobody in my family knew anything about Parkinson's. I didn't know if I was going to die or not die, or you just didn't know. So there's obviously a big need for awareness of what it is and why it shouldn't be scary to your friends. And so I figured, I'm a communicator. I'm a broadcaster. I've done it for 30 years. I oversee 9 radio stations, and we have access to TV stations and websites, and I wasn't saying anything. And so I'm like, well, this can be why I've built this career, is to be able to deliver this message around the world and get it broadcast and really raise the awareness. And so, everybody may not be ready for that, but you can tell your story to your neighbors. You can tell your story to your church. You can tell your story to your work or your friends, and that grows. And most people who stop hiding it and start sharing it end up getting so much out of the support that they receive, and what comes back at them is just a lot of love and support and understanding. And then they realize, oh, so that's why you're canceling at the last minute for Bridge Club or whatever it is, or why you left early the other night. I get it now. You can't plan a lot. So then what you have to do is have options ready to go for when those, hey, is this a go do something day, or is this a stay inside day, or,
Yeah. Those
I'm rambling, but I think the sitting with just your thoughts and trying to even writing out the poetry or just writing your feelings down, what you think about it, what questions you have about it, what do you want to know about it, just do your research and do your own personal work so you can really stop fighting the Parkinson's, because the more you fight it, the bigger it will become in your life. and just accept that it's gonna be there, and you can just, it doesn't have to be all of you. It's just there, and you are still you.
Yeah. I think that's one of the most important lessons for all of us to learn in life as we age, and especially when you have a diagnosis with Parkinson's, is that you're still a human being. You still have dreams and aspirations and people who love you and whom you love and things that you want to do in your life. Go live it.
Right? This actually gives you permission to do the stuff you've wanted to do all your life, like get back on stage and do some improv. Like, I probably wouldn't have done that had I not had this diagnosis.
Well, that was one of the things I was just going to ask you was, what has Parkinson's like done for you? What has, so that's definitely a great answer to that.
Well, and it's given me friends around the world. It's given me access to some of the smartest brains in the world. As I have my podcast and as I do the PD Avengers, and just the community is amazing.
Now, you had mentioned that you have a son. I don't know if you have more than one.
Yeah, we have one son. He's 12 and a half, going on 40. Or 11, depending on which day it is.
And how did you, if I may ask, how did you talk with him about your diagnosis?
We've been sharing from the beginning, from day one. We said, Daddy's sick. This is the first thing we did. And, there's something wrong with his brain. And so that makes his hand wiggle, but it's, when we give him a job. So his job from day one was, you need to, if you see Daddy's hands shaking, let us know. And so it gave him something to do. Now, I didn't need him to tell me my hands were shaking, but he needed a job. Now his new job is he'll help me get stuff together if we're going out. So I've got walking poles, and so he helps gather that stuff up. And so he's a part of, and he's done fundraising for Parkinson's, for like the super walk and stuff. And so he's a part of it. He's part of the podcast every now and again. And, I'm just his dad, and I happen to have Parkinson's. I often think, oh man, what a crappy childhood he's having because his dad can't do everything. He doesn't know any different. His dad's doing what his dad does, and other people's dads do what they do. And, he's a preteen. So, dads aren't cool.
It's hard to be uncool to hang out with dad. Yeah. Got it. You've mentioned a couple times a podcast. Where do we find it? Tell us about it.
Wherever you listen to podcasts, download podcasts, you can find it. It's called When Life Gives You Parkinson's. And it started as the patient perspective of Parkinson's. What's it like? What's the journey like? There was nothing like it when I was diagnosed. I kept looking for a patient-led podcast. Like, I wanted to know what it was like to have it. I didn't, and everything I got was this researcher or this scientist or this, experts in the field. And I was like, yeah, okay, but what's the experience? I want to hear from somebody who has it. So that was my intention. And now there's quite a few of them out there that do that, which is great. We talk about everything. The last 3 episodes have just been a discussion between my wife and I, where we talk about these hard topics and just about how it affects the relationship and the intimacy, and and how do we find new ways of expressing our love for each other if Parkinson's doesn't permit us to do what we've done before. And so you have to reevaluate everything. You have to reset the bar of what you can and can't do, and what are your priorities. And like my wife and I, we're going to renew our vows because we want to make sure that they're up to date, because of course we're going to be there in sickness and health, but we're in the sickness and the health. And so what are we really promising each other at this point? And because there's been moments where she's like, are you still in this? And I'd be like, are you still in this? Because it can, if you don't talk about it, it can drive a wedge between, because there's 3 people in the bedroom now, you, your wife, your Parkinson's, and it changes, like when you have those intimate conversations, or when you have those life-changing discussions about, are we going to buy a house? Are we going to buy a car? Like after 5 o'clock, it's just yes and no questions for me. Don't ask me a complicated, open-ended question after 5 because I probably won't be able to figure it out. And so it's really frank, and we're honest. We're open books. Some of them are really funny, and some of them will make you cry. But it's there's probably close to 100 episodes now, so it's called "When Life Gives You Parkinsons," and check it out. No, it's good. It's on the Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or wherever you go.
I am so glad I got to meet you. You are such an inspiration. And I think you'd be such an inspiration with or without the Parkinsons.
Well, thank you.
You've got a great energy about you and a dynamicism and so uplifting. Before we go, because I know you have other things you have on your agenda today, let me just ask you, is there anything you would like to say to someone that we haven't said today, or any parting words that you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I do. Parkinson's can be a very lonely disease because the people in your life don't know what you're going through, because they, even if it's just a tremor, even if they can just see a tremor, or maybe they don't see anything, because most of what happens to us happens internally. Find a community. It doesn't have to be a big community, but you have to know people who have Parkinson's, because they'll get you, and there's a shorthand, and there's a bond there. We share tips and ideas, and I get so exhausted in the middle of the day. Oh, okay. So, do you have a shower chair? Because taking a shower can exhaust you if you have Parkinson's, because you're trying to balance on a wet floor with your eyes shut, washing your hair. Like, I can't do 4 things at once, even if I'm, just wide awake. But you only have so much energy in a day. So get a shower chair, reserve that energy for something that you really want to do. Things like that are invaluable, but you're not going to get that from your regular friends. You need a community to turn to. It can be a virtual community. It could be an online community, like a Facebook community. Find something, because there's going to be days where you're just going to want to go, what the hell happened to me? Or why is this happening? And, I consult with friends all the time about, hey, this new symptom popped up. Is this Parkinson's or is this something else? Oh, no, that's Parkinson's. Because everybody's different. So don't think you're in it alone, because there's 10 million of us out here that are willing and ready to help. So go to pdavengers.com and sign up for that, and you'll automatically be in a community.
Larry, thank you.
Thank you so much
for your time and for all your energy today.
Yeah, I'll call back anytime.
I will. I absolutely will. And just thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all you're doing. Thanks for spreading the word and using your superpowers.
I don't know about you, but I found that really inspiring. He is an incredible human being, don't you think? I want to share with you, for those of you who will be in New York on April 23rd for the Parkinson's Unity Walk, you can have the opportunity to actually meet Larry in person, as he will be here hosting the PD Avengers booth. So if you're at the walk or in the city, please swing by and you can meet him in person. We put all the resources that Larry mentioned today in the comments section below. So please scan through, click on whatever inspires you. And also know that we have programs here at the JCC in Manhattan that are live on Zoom at the moment, and we will be going back into the building for some hybrid programming soon. So pay attention to that. And if you want to be involved in our programs, you'll find a link in the comments below for our Living with Parkinson's intake form. And you just fill out that form, and then we'll get in touch with you and help you be on your way. So as Larry said, we want you to be a part of a community, and we are here for you. You can also email me, Whitney Chapman, at wchapman@mmjccm.org. If you have questions or concerns or comments about this conversation or this series, would love to hear from you. Lastly, I want to let you know that our next episode will be on April 11th, which is the National Parkinson's Day. And we will be talking with Miriam Bram and learning a little bit about the World Parkinson's Congress, which is coming up, but we want to give you some tips to prepare. So we'll see you in April. And in the meantime, have a great day. Thanks for joining us.